Hello everyone, Rudy Briksza here, MTGCardMarket.com, coming to you with another Versus Series video with myself against one Kevin. He likes to call himself the Daddy Jones. I'm not a fan. I've always known him as K-Fed. So that's what I'll stick to call him. But anyway, we're going to bring you a pretty interesting battle tonight. Today, whenever you decide to watch this, he's going to be playing Yu Watanabe's Temur Marvel deck. I'm going to be playing Chris Fennell's Black-White Zombies deck from the top 8 of this Pro Tour. I really like the Black-White Zombies deck. I'm going to talk about the differences between this and the Mono Black version and why I chose this version. I think one of the most important things is even though you do have to play Plains and you do have the awkward mana coming into play tapped, Shambling Vent, Concealed Courtyard, obviously can make your mana a little awkward, especially on turns that you kind of need to use all your mana. Overall, it gives you a huge benefit. Wayward Servant is a way for you to basically drain your opponent out. Over a long series of turns, and especially like with Diregraph Colossus, Liliana's Mastery, Dark Salvation, and Crypt Breaker, there's a lot of token makers. So there's a really big opportunity for you to be able to kind of drain your opponent out. A lot of times these decks can sometimes have a little bit of trouble getting through the last points of damage, and I really like Wayward Servant. The other, big addition is Binding Mummy, and Binding Mummy is really interesting because it's, kind of unassuming. It's kind of like a really good limited card. You can kind of leverage it, in all these, matchups where you're just trying to like push through damage. And in this deck, when everything's a zombie, it means at instant speed you can tap your Crypt Breaker, make a zombie, tap a creature, tap something like Ulamog if they haven't destroyed your Binding Mummy. It gives you a few turns to kind of deal with things. There are a lot of big creatures that are kind of hard to fight through, and Binding Mummy kind of lets you push through a lot of damage. So I'm a big fan of it. Anguish Unmaking is the other big one in the main deck. It's a good way to deal with Marvel. It's a good way to deal with Ulamog. It gives you a way to beat a lot of these cards that you might otherwise have some trouble beating. So Anguish Unmaking is just a nice universal removal spell for pretty much anything you want. So I'm a big fan of the white version, for these cards. If we look in the post board, we're going to have access to Gideon, going to have access to Declaration Stone. Declaration is going to be great against cards like Ishkana, but it's also pretty reasonable against Ulamog. It's just like another removal spell if they put one in play. Because this deck is really good at going wide, a lot of times an Ulamog in play doesn't actually crush you. So it's pretty nice to have Declaration Stone. Although pretty unlikely to board it in, I think. Gideon, I'm definitely boarding in. Transgress, I'm definitely boarding in. Big fan of these cards. Also probably boarding in Scrap Heap Scrounger as well. Scrap Heap Scrounger is, pretty good. A lot of these decks tend to have Radiant Flames and Kozilek's Return. So Scrap Heap Scrounger is just a great way to kind of break through. But we'll get to that when we get to sideboarding. But I do really like the way this deck is built. The main deck gives you, a lot of room to maneuver. It lets you play the game plan of using Crypt Breaker to draw a bunch of cards, and then, Wayward Servant to kind of eat away at their life total the entire time. But basically, this is a really wide aggro deck. Obviously, you have a couple lords that make everything bigger, but for the most part, you're just kind of sitting around and just making a lot of a lot of creatures, draining your opponent, and eventually you'll attack them for lethal. So I'm a big fan of this deck. I would expect this deck to be pretty popular going forward. Zombies and Zump variant. I like the white version more, but people in general might also play the black version. I don't blame them for that. There is something to be said for consistency, and Metallic Mimic is just another zombie maker. But we'll get to the battles in just a bit, so we'll see you then.